Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of Skipping Lunch After Dinner. I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and it has been a lot of fun doing these interviews this last month or so. And I have got another good one today because I have got Nathan Hurd from, this is one of the coolest game publishing titles I've ever heard of, Quasireal Publishing, which I will want to talk about in a little bit. But I'm here with Nathan. So Nathan, say hello to folks.
Hello to folks.
How's
everyone doing tonight?
Good night, Gracie. Very nice. So yes, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Really good. I was so excited that you were able to accept the invite because I got the notification about a backerkit campaign you're doing, which we will talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
But I'm really excited that you were able to come on and to talk about your cool publishing house. But before we get to that, and we actually have people watching, so that's always nice too. But before we get to that, I always like to ask people, because this is a very unique hobby. It is a very distinct hobby. It's weird. And I always am very interested for folks to explain, how did you get involved in this really, really weird, unique, awesome hobby?
Yeah, so I've told this story a couple times, so if anyone has popped over from my corner of the internet, they'll have heard this before. But when I was a kid, 5 or 6 years old, there was it was either Christmas or my birthday. It was sometime that gifts were given. I don't remember the exact particulars, but my grandparents gave me a Knights and Castles toy set.
Okay.
It was Imaginext, if you've heard of that or seen that. It was a niche Fisher Price line. I think it was Fisher Price for a short
Yes,
time.
and it had like
Yeah,
their arms were
it was
like gray, and they
modular.
had like the Lego hands on it for like
Yes,
they just
yeah.
moved like
It wasn't
this. They didn't
right.
they
It
didn't
wasn't Lego, but
articulate.
it was like it
Yes,
was modular like that. Yep.
I remember that.
Um, yeah, yeah. So my grandparents got me an Imaginext set,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
yeah, and my parents were um given that I was like 5 or 6, my mom specifically was a little bit concerned about the influence that like medieval warfare might have on a young developing child.
You just what? She didn't
Um,
want you running around lopping the heads off of your neighbors' kids. Like, that's fine.
right,
Sure.
right. Um, I'm sure my neighbors are thankful. And so my my dad, who played D&D 1E back when it came out,
Okay.
said he said, "Okay, well, I've got an idea to not like take away this cool present that his grandparents got for him. What if we attach a story to it and instill in him, use it as a way to cultivate an idea of chivalry and honor and nobility instead of just lopping the heads off of the neighbors' kids."
Right. Okay.
Um,
Which you
yeah,
probably
and
did anyway,
so
but that's okay. We're good because you were 5.
right, yeah. I
Right.
mean, I was 5. We were LARPing without knowing it was called LARPing. That was a whole different thing. Um, But yeah, basically, my dad wrote up some 3.5 character sheets with me and handed them to me and said, "Son, you're a hero now." And the rest is history.
That's
So
awesome. You've been doing it ever since.
yeah, right. When I was 6, I would say like I learned to read on the Magic Tree House by Mary Pope Osborne
Yep.
and the D&D 3.5 player's manual. Like it was those two.
That
um,
is like the greatest of all time. No, no, Eric, they were not
yeah,
LARPing with real swords. So King Eric, the greatest of all, is in chat. He's always
yes,
one of my favorite. And I guess Pandelica is one of yours. I don't think I've heard this before.
yes,
So
nice.
yes, I mean, what kids?
Panda.
I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up in Star Wars era. Like you were 6 when
Mm.
3.5 was out. So you've now made me feel ancient. So thank you for that. We might have some hostile interrogation later. But I grew up
Mhm.
in Star Wars, so we had wiffle ball bats, and that was just lightsabers, and we just beat the
Right.
living daylights out of each other.
Yep.
But the most fun I ever had with that LARPing without knowing it is one of my friends. They had I don't know if you ever seen these, but they were giant Tinker toys. Like the connector was like this long, and they were made out of
Okay.
like hard plastic. And so we like put
Okay.
the cross beams in, and we put a handle in, and then
That's
we put that,
awesome.
and we would just run around and like hit each other with like
No, I've
plastic
never
swords.
seen those. That's so cool.
They were awesome. So yes,
Yeah.
like LARPing without knowing you're LARPing is just it's a
Right.
rite of passage.
It's a
It's one of those
blast.
things. It's called
Yeah.
being a kid,
Right.
which is awesome. But that's how you got into it. You learned to read with the Magic Treehouse and the 3.5 Player's Handbook.
Yep. Pretty much.
That's fantastic. I love it. That's just awesome. All right, so you've moved forward. What was your first experience as a GM? I'm assuming because you became a game designer, so I'm assuming you had a moment at a GM at some
Yeah, I
point.
mean, I am now the forever GM. I love it. I love world building and designing and seeing into the creations that my players bring me and figuring out how to build a story with it. So I like being a player once in a while, but I would get bored if I wasn't GMing something on an ongoing basis.
Okay, so really a
Um,
GM is where you're kind of leaning to.
yeah, yeah. And my first ongoing GM experience was for my brother when he was 5, 6, 7, kind of taking the baton and passing it on.
Okay,
And it was me and him and one of our friends who was between me and him in age, and we played the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars D20 system. We were all still are all
okay,
big Star Wars fans, and
okay.
so we played through a Clone Wars campaign with that.
Really, Star Wars D20. I don't think I've ever met anybody who played that. But that was
Really?
I mean,
Okay.
it was a big thing. In fact, I was talking with one of my friends last night. He's like, we all thought the Star Wars D20 was what they're going to make, what they were going to do with 4E, and then they did not do that with 4E, and we were all angry at them.
Right. Star Wars D20 was like D&D 3.9 set in space. There were elements of 3.5, there were elements of 4E. You could kind of see the evolution of the game into 4E from there.
Yeah, okay. So you can go through. I was out of the hobby for that, like everywhere from like 2E all the way through 5E until the pandemic.
Gotcha.
So like I have
Yeah.
to go back and like try to figure out what everybody's angry about. Um, it's very, very funny. And King Eric, the greatest of all, is pointing out that we used to play pretend out back, and we were throwing lawn darts around. So yes, are you
Yep.
familiar with lawn darts?
I think dartboard darts that you throw on a lawn. So I assume no, I'm not
No,
familiar.
they
I don't
were
know.
like, so like horseshoes.
Yeah.
Where you throw horseshoes, and someone thought that was like too dangerous, and so what they did is they created javelins with fins, and you had a circle on the ground, and you would throw them way up into the air, and it would arc and plunge straight down, and you'd have
Okay.
to hit the hole. And of course, we're 2 feet away from where this is supposed to be landing. I don't know how I'm alive. I really I do have to tell you.
No, I mean, right, when I was growing up, it was stomp rockets, just like the pad that you step on with like a
Oh yeah,
foam
and they
dart,
just
so
launched up in the air. Yes, they
yeah,
were
a little bit
awesome.
safer.
Yeah, no, I'm the generation that did the lawn darts and also put bottle rockets at the end of the wiffle ball bats, and we used to use them as rifles and shoot them at our
Yeah.
friends. We were not good people. This is that one guy said he had never even heard of the Star Wars one. Might be a bit too young. Oh, that makes me feel old. Anyway, so you do that, and now you've gone through all of this. You're the forever GM. You like world building, and you've taken the full arc, and your current position is the lead designer, and this is the coolest title for a publishing house ever, for Quasireal Publishing House.
Yes.
First off, where did that name come from, other than the fact that it just sounds amazing?
It's a long story. The short version is our do you want the long version?
Go,
So,
please. We got time.
okay. Our company's origin is from D&D podcasting.
Okay.
In COVID era, timeline is fuzzy because it was COVID era.
Time had no
But
meaning. Yes.
right. I was finishing up my my bachelor's degree. I was doing third-party writing for D&D supplements on DM's Guild,
Okay.
and just self-publishing some stuff there.
Mhm.
I had like a big gothic horror thing with some new character options, a lot of which I ended up recycling and republishing, like dressing up and re-releasing
Okay.
later on. But as I got ready to start publishing and start trying to promote myself, I thought, well, I think the easiest way to do that is if I find D&D podcasts that I like listening to and see if they'll do like giveaways of my content. Um, I found one that was called the Homebrew Podcast. The Homebrew Podcast is GM'd by Grant Milkey, now the CEO of Quasireal Publishing.
Okay.
Um, so he and I got in contact. I can't remember if they ever actually gave away my book or not, but I got in contact with the team, started hanging out with them, started listening to their podcast. Um, the podcast they were running was heavily homebrewed 5e set in a space opera setting.
Okay.
It's done. They're on campaign 3. Campaign 1 ended at like 120, 130 episodes.
Oh,
It was a
wow.
substantial like 3-year long podcast. We got to talking. They actually brought me on to GM the second podcast and take it from just a podcast to a network.
Oh, neat.
And I've lost track of how many shows we've launched because some of them have not, made it off
Oh,
the
yeah,
ground.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
what happens. You try things, you see
Mhm.
what sticks. We've had 3 full podcasts that have had complete campaigns.
Okay.
And one of those podcasts is ongoing still. And oh no, that's not true. 4 podcasts. 4. There have been several.
Right.
Specifics elude me. There have been several. But late in that first space opera campaign,
Okay.
there was a spell that one of the players cast. I think it was Phantom Steed
All right.
in D&D 5e, and there's a line in there that I believe references you have a quasi-real steed,
Nice.
and that became a meme internally with our group.
Okay.
There was a whole like riff on it in the episode where it was cast, and Grant gave the steed. They named it Gideon. He gave the steed the most annoying cartoon voice to make sure that the player would never want to summon it again. He was like, I don't like this spell. I don't like that you're using it. I'm going to find a way to make sure you don't use it again.
Oh,
So just
my
the
gosh.
most obnoxious voice.
That's awesome.
So that was Gideon, the quasi-real steed. And if you look at our logo, the Q in quasi-real is a horse.
Is a horse. I did notice that.
It's Gideon. So that's the inspiration for quasi-real.
He gave it
Really
a
just
terrible
dumb
voice. So you
inside
would,
joke.
he gave it a terrible voice so you'd never use it again. And then you named the company after it.
Yep.
Yes.
Beyond the inside joke, we were talking about ideas, and it was just the ideation of something that is not real. It's a fictional story, but
Right.
it's real to us. We're telling real stories, making real memories.
Correct. Yeah.
With this ephemeral game. So playing with words, but also just pulling from an inside joke.
Yeah. 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 I love it. I loved the kind of self-aware meta of it because the story is real to itself, and so there is a reality there, even though it's not real, like, because we're the people who are moving the puppets around. I love it. It turned out that one guy says it turned out to not be a terrible voice. So
Gideon made some reappearances. Yeah,
Gideon did come back.
And Panda, he caught the. Yep. I think he was sacrificed a couple times because he's a resummonable.
He's quasi-real. You could just bring him back.
Right.
That is absolutely amazing. So officially, how long has Quasireal Publishing been around?
We have been around. I can't remember when we filed our paperwork.
Okay.
But we've been in the public eye since March of 2023. That was when we launched our first Kickstarter.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. And then you are one of the founders of the company. So you did not come in later. You are one of the people who founded it. That one guy says he was sacrificed all the time. Well, when you can bring him back, it's fine,
Right. Exactly. All of your spell components. Oh, hey, Gideon, get over here.
Gideon, come here again. Eventually, did Gideon develop a complex? Like, why are you doing this to me?
I'm sure he did. It's been a while since I've re-listened to that first campaign, so I re-listen to the highlights every once in a while, but I need to go back and listen to that part again.
There's this whole. I can't watch an actual play because my brain wants to do something else. So I need to get like I
Yep.
never got into podcasting, and everybody's like, "No, you have to do the podcast. They're so much better." I'm like, "Okay, I'll try that," and I haven't done it yet, so maybe I'll pick up that one because
Oh,
I want to see Gideon's
as
voice
opposed
or
to, like,
hear.
watching a live stream of,
Yes,
like, of people. Yeah, sure.
and I watch the live
I
streams with
like
like my friends, but that's because I know
Right.
them. So
Yeah.
King
I
Eric,
like listening to people play, rather than watching people play because I can, build a magic deck or paint a D&D mini or whatever, like, while I'm listening to them.
it is a
Something
different.
to engage the rest of, yeah,
Yeah,
my
it's a different
body and my
experience, and I
my
think
mind.
that might actually hit me. King Eric wants to know if you actually published your or quasi filed the paperwork, or was it a real?
Quasi
It was a
I
real filing.
it's real filing.
They
It's
are
fully actually filed.
a legit
Yeah.
business, which is just it's awesome. So you've been there since the beginning, and your big product that you put out is this RPG called Mythcraft RPG. Not as
Yes.
someone was pointing out earlier, Minecraft, not Minecraft, Mythcraft.
Not
Very
Minecraft.
different reality.
Yep.
So when you're pitching, and this we were talking about it because my brain got fuzzy because it's post pandemic or during pandemic, the long part. I had thought that you had announced it right before the OGL, but you said it was right March, right after the OGL crisis hit, is when you kind of launched the
Yeah.
Kickstarter for it. So it's
Yep.
been around for a
OGL
while.
was Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, OGL
January
was
of
January of
22.
2023.
Oh, 23.
23.
Okay. It's
Yep.
time has no meaning anymore. Um,
Right.
so you did that. So you have this out here and you put it out along with this flood of everyone else is like, we're going to make our own game now too, which must have
Right.
felt great for you because you had that already planned. But when you're trying to pitch this game to potential players, especially now that there's
Mhm.
this proliferation of stuff that's trying to fill in some of the
Right.
goodwill that a certain coastal wizard company just destroyed. Um,
The mages of the
the
beach, as
mate,
we
yeah,
call them.
I like that one too. I like that better than the coastal wizards. So, what do you pitch Mythcraft's most distinctive feature as?
Its most distinctive feature, I would have to say, is the amount of customization that it offers to the player when they're designing their character.
That is something that you keep that all of your descriptions on it go through. So, talk to me a little bit about the customization that you can do for your player characters, because in a lot of ways, this is not my favorite style of play. But if you are a min maxer, it just sounds like Mythcraft is like a love letter to them.
Yes, yes. What we wanted to do quickly as we realized that in playtesting, we realized that we were drawing all of the min-maxers. We were like, okay, this is great, but we want to be sure that we can design a game that rewards them without punishing, without making it unplayable for people who aren't min-maxers.
That is a very tight needle to thread.
Yeah, yeah, and we're not perfect at it, but I do think we're pretty good at it.
Okay.
So what makes character customization in Mythcraft really appealing? I think it is the way that we've deconstructed how character advancement works in a
Okay.
typical D20 fantasy role-playing game. I mean, it is a D20 fantasy role-playing game. They're a dime a dozen now,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's in the vein of Pathfinder and D&D.
Okay.
Um, so every time you level up, you get three things. You get more hit points. You get a new talent point, and you get a new attribute point. So
Okay.
a talent point is like um or right, you progress down a talent tree. They look like video game skill trees, right?
Okay. Like the
So every time
civilization technology tree. Got it. I've dated
right,
myself.
right.
That's fine. Go ahead.
No,
Keep going.
I love
I've
Civ. Um so right, like that, but for characters instead of
mm-hmm.
nations, right? Um So instead of I'm just going to use 5e as a translation because
Sure.
it is still the monolith, even though there is technically a new edition of D&D. No one plays it. It's D&D 5e.
Pretty
So,
much. Yeah.
um, in D&D 5e, you have a class table that shows you what you get each time you level up.
Right.
Um, you can multi-class. You can choose your subclass. You can take a feat. There's a couple ways to customize your character, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
go looking for them. In Mythcraft, when you level up, you you choose out of what is available to you based on your previous choices,
Mm-hmm.
um, what prerequisites you've unlocked. Civ is a great metaphor for this. What prerequisites you
Gotcha.
have built on to get additional features later on.
Okay.
So it invites you a lot more into the active decision making about, let's say I'm a warrior. Do I want to get better at hitting people hard, or do I want to get better at using my shield to protect my ally that's next to me, or to intercept an arrow before it can hit someone behind me?
Okay.
It lets you. What I've also found, a slight tangent, and I'll come back to this.
We can take all the tangents you want. We're good.
Wonderful. So one thing that we really enjoy as D&D players, as tabletop gaming players, this will make sense coming from our background in actual play podcasting.
Okay.
We love the story. We love the role playing with an E. And we also love the role playing with 2 L's.
Gotcha.
And we wanted a game that is not rules light, but lets the narrative inform the mechanics more than a lot of rules heavy systems do. And so we your ability to take a new talent every time you level up lets you respond to the narrative that the game has told. So if you're that warrior, for example, and in the last battle that you had, one of your allies died or almost died, and you realize, I need to do better at protecting my friends. That might guide you towards taking a talent that lets you protect your friends more effectively, rather than just continuing down, like taking all of the talents that let you hit harder with your sword.
Gotcha.
Or your axe
Okay.
or whatever.
Because you've encountered something, your character is now making decisions about, I need to train more in this. So you're mixing, you're mixing the two.
Yeah. So because you make a choice every time you level up, that really lets you be driven by the story, instead of just focusing on the min-max build. And it doesn't penalize you for focusing on the min-max build, right? You can choose how much you want the story to come in, but it certainly has a lot more room than when there's just a table showing exactly what it is that you gain.
That's pretty cool. It's a much different style of build for things. I mean, there are, like, Cypher System lets you, when you tier up, you get to pick like one or two abilities, or pick from an earlier tier ability if you want to, but it doesn't have that type of far branching path. It's like, here, just follow the flow chart to see what prerequisites you've actually hit.
Right.
Which would be, that's actually kind of, now I'm not going to forgive you because you have me interested in a high fantasy game, and that's going to make me upset. Darn it, Nathan. Which is, it is actually really cool. The world that you created, I mean, it is a D20 style game. Is it just D20, the typical high fantasy species or backgrounds or races or whatever terminology that Mythcraft uses? What do you use for is it ancestry or
lineage?
So you use lineage. That's a nice one. That feels literary. Is it just the typical fantasy lineages, or did you create some of your own for it?
Yeah, we created some of our own for it. I'll start with the weird ones and then work my way back to normal.
Gotcha. To normal. The elves, they're normal. It's fine. Go ahead. Tell me the weird ones.
The weird ones would be the Raideen. I'll start with them. They're like, are you familiar with the Aasimar from 5e Forgotten Realms?
Yes. Like the angel type people.
Yeah, the angel type. So Raideen are like that, but if instead of having like a celestial parent or lineage or influence, they're the deities that influence them are these ancient, unknowable biotechnical gods called the Avadri. So not your traditional like winged
right.
Looking,
yeah.
Right? Like I guess I would visually compare them almost to like the Phyrexians, if you're familiar with like the Magic the Gathering
I'm not
history.
I don't know anything about you can teach me. What are the Phyrexians?
Oh, I'm not gonna be an expert on Magic, and I'm gonna misrepresent it. So I'll decline.
We better be quiet, otherwise people are really going to be angry at us. That's okay.
Right. I was just going to use that as like a visual starting point.
And it went
so. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Just ancient, massive gods. What about Marvel's
Oh
Celestials?
yeah, Celestials. Yes, got
Okay.
it. I'm in.
Yeah. So right. So not like a fantasy celestial, but like a Marvel celestial, giant technological looking
Hmm,
weird
hmm.
creature.
Who
That
made
would be the
who
Avadri.
made the Eternals? So we're good.
Yes. Right. Who no
So
one talks about.
you said biotechnical. So is this kind of like that old school mix of sorcery and technology hits in? Does that kind of like
Yeah,
edge into the world?
it does. And a lot of ancient artifacts and like when you're down in dungeons exploring and you find a weird artifact and you're like, I don't know what this does, but it's a cool sword that glows. There's like a reason that you would find that even if there was no civilization there before you. It harkens back to these
Oh,
beings.
that's fascinating. It's got a kind of a first one's vibe from Babylon 5, which is
I'm
good.
actually not
Okay.
familiar.
You must,
I'll have to.
especially given the nature of the backer kit that we're about to talk about, you must go watch Babylon 5. That is now, but you can skip most of season 1. I will give you permission.
Okay.
And
All right, it's on my list.
King Eric is pointing out that God looks like Ultraman. No, God just no. Eric. Eric is the one, he basically just tries to put things into chat to break me and
Yeah,
succeeds every stream because they're just
of course.
bizarro. It's wonderful. Love you, Eric. Thank you. So it seems like a really cool idea, and you've melded in a whole bunch of ideas. Like, what is like the general history of the world in which Mythcraft takes place by default?
Okay. In the beginning, there were the Avadri. There was a big Silmarillion or Paradise Lost style story with the
Okay.
Avadri. Uh, One thing led to another. There's the creation of the world of Ansera. Um, Ansera is the default high fantasy sword and sorcery setting. We have a grand timeline planned for it. We have some published modules for it right now, but starting at the beginning, starting at the dawn of civilization, there's what we're just calling the prehistoric era or the ancient era,
Okay.
which is basically imagine like fantasy Babylon with the ancient era,
As one does. Good. I like it.
as one does,
I
right?
like it. Yes.
And I'm gonna try to weave as much as I can into this answer while keeping it succinct.
Cool.
So there's the ancient setting, there's the dinosaurs, there's all of these different burgeoning civilizations, and there's one type of magic which is psionic magic, just
Oh, okay.
people intrinsically developing their minds to impose their will on the world.
Okay.
Um, that goes on for a few thousand years, and then there's an event called the Tear. Now, in those few thousand years, no one would know to record this because it's a foreign concept to them, but there are
Okay.
no stars in the sky. Behind the sun and the moons, the five moons, there are just these curtains of cosmic clouds. No
Okay.
stars, just clouds. Um, the event of the tear is a rend in the clouds revealing stars for the first time in recorded history.
Okay.
There's some planar stuff about where Ansera is in the cosmos that explains why that is. I can't remember how much is public, so I'm not going to say more about it.
Okay.
But uh, Ansera, I want to say it's in a published book that we've done, but just in case it's not, there's the tear. The stars are revealed, um, and Panda, I'm glad you're listening to this too. I lose track of what I've said and what I haven't. So the uh, the stars are revealed, and as they are, the remaining sources of magic flood into the world. And so there's
Oh.
psionic magic, people using their minds. There's there's arcane magic, which is people tapping into the fundamental wellspring that is like the Big Bang, but magically created, and using that fundamental pure source of magic, the one power if you're a Wheel of Time person,
Okay.
um, and channeling it. And like the Wheel of Time, it comes with the risk of burnout and harming yourself while casting, but it has the most power and the most application to different things you can do through
Okay.
arcane magic.
Okay.
Um, a vast group of people are like, I want magic, but I don't want to like do that at risk of my own harm. So what if I enter into a pact with a divine being and I serve and worship them, and in response I have divine magic, which
Okay.
is
Okay.
arcane magic filtered through a divine arbiter. So it's safer, you're not going to harm yourself, but you're beholden to whatever warlock or cleric style contract you come up with
Gotcha. Okay.
in order to receive it.
Do you have written out versions of what you can be, or is it kind of free flowing and people can write their own for that?
There's it's fairly free flow. There's some specific guidelines. The cleric class and the zealot class, which is like our paladin, have some specifically the cleric class has some parameters for how that would look in your
Gotcha.
world.
And someone, King
But
Eric,
yeah,
is
it's
actually asking a same question. Is the magic in Mythcraft similar to the magic in Dragonlance, that it literally comes to the beings of the world through the gods?
that's I thinking about it in Dragonlance terms, and it like coming from one specific source.
Or from the moons is where the
That's
magic all comes from, yeah. So,
right. So that's a fine starting place. I wouldn't do a one-to-one there. So
okay.
magic originally comes from the fundamental wellspring, the arcane Big Bang.
Okay.
Um, the Avadri and the other pantheons of gods use that magic, and they're immortal and all powerful, so they can do it safely. Humanoids can try to use that magic at their own personal risk, or they can bargain with deities for it.
Okay.
So that's arcane and divine magic. Same magic, different ways of getting it.
Gotcha.
That results in you having like different powers. Like divine magic has all the healing, arcane has like the counter spells and whatnot.
Okay.
And we already covered psionic magic,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
just your imposition of will on the world. Last two are primal magic, which is the arcane magic suffusing another plane of existence and slowly evolving there over time to become a more muted and safer version of it, really
yeah. Oh,
tapping into the idea of evolution and how that works with primal beings. And so
okay.
that's in 5e terms, that'd be like your sorcerer or your pyromancer, right? Like very elemental based,
Yeah.
weather based magic.
That's cool.
And the last one, which Pierre just referenced, is occult magic, which is taking magic from planar beings without them knowing, instead of going into a contract with them.
Gotcha.
And so there's 5 sources. They are each stronger than 2 and weaker than 2. So we've got some rock paper scissors lizard Spock going on here with the magic sources.
Love that. Did you make a
Yep.
t-shirt explaining it?
Not yet. That's a good idea.
I mean, if you have rock, paper, scissors, Spock t-shirts, you might as well have
Right.
Mythcraft magic things.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that one guy wants to know which one Corey said was the strongest of the magics.
Corey said that divine was the strongest. We got into this big debate a couple days ago in one of our Discord channels about it.
There you go.
And
This sounds like a fun Discord.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah,
So,
yeah. He said it was divine because he was looking at all of the top end like ultimate spells that you could cast, the wish type spells in each of
uh-huh.
the sources, and he was arguing that depending on the god you worship, the miracle spell could let you eliminate all other sources of magic.
Well,
I will not.
that would be a goal.
I will not. I will not confirm or deny if that would happen at my table or not. Corey is a player in one of my games,
There you go.
so I'm not going to say more if that is his ultimate plan.
I love it. Eric wants to know if certain lineages more magic sensitive than other lineages in your world.
Yeah, a little bit. So the Raideen that I mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of descendants from the Avadri, are more psionically attuned. There are fiend bloods, which are kind of like tieflings from 5e. They're going to be more occult attuned, and trying to think if elementals are more primal attuned.
Okay.
They're like D&D Genasi.
Okay.
And I believe that's it. There are different lineages that offer the ability to learn magic, but it's not necessarily like baked into them the way it is with those
Okay,
examples.
because they're like this intrinsic connection to it. Because you're talking about all these different eras, or are you? Excuse me, as my allergies kick in. Are you able to play a campaign in some of these earlier eras? Like if you want to play pre what did you call it? The tear? Can you play pre-tear? Is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's in playtesting right now. It's available. Playtesters or Patreon subscribers. So anyone
Okay.
who subscribes is like a playtester and gets access to it.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, we we got derailed. Let me do the timeline real quick. So there's the
Okay.
ancient setting that has a playtest campaign in it right now called the Dinosaur Wars, or called Kings of Tyranny, which details the Dinosaur Wars.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's the that's all pre-tear. Post-tear, there's the traditional high fantasy sword and sorcery typical
Uh-huh.
magic setting, and that has a couple different campaigns. There's the Cloven Lands, which is going to be your Game of Thrones style house politics story.
Okay.
That is also still in playtesting, but it's currently in like late stage editing, going toward layout. It'll be out pretty soon.
Okay.
Soon, trademark. There's Veil of the Eternal Night, which is that same time period, but it's dark, like Victorian Gothic horror, vampires, Castlevania inspired setting, or adventure rather.
Yeah.
So that's like the sword and sorcery medieval setting.
Gotcha.
Start the Fire, which we'll get to in a minute, is in that same time period, but it's later. It's a few thousand years after those, or 1600 years after those other campaigns, but it's in the same
Like
vein
the same
of
time period, 1600 years later. So someone's read Tolkien.
right.
So
Yes. And we haven't written these yet, but there are plans in place for a post-apocalyptic and sci-fi setting that are part of the same timeline, just far in the
interesting.
future.
Oh, that'd be cool because you can take that biotechnology and stretch it out through the
Right.
timeline and do cool things with it. That
Right.
would be really cool. Pierre has pointed out that wants to do a Mythcraft campaign where the people travel through the timeline.
That's such a good idea. It'd have to be forward, because I'm not going to get into what happens if you travel back in time. But that's a really cool idea to do, like a snapshot throughout history.
That would be wild, though. What would happen if you would try to draw on a post-tear magic source
Pre-tear.
pre-tear? Like, what would happen?
Oh, I wonder. The other thing we could do with that is like an infinite library style campaign, like D&D did one a few years ago.
You want to go to L-Space?
Candlekeep.
Yeah, so, yeah.
L-Space?
It's Terry Pratchett.
Okay.
The librarian.
He's on my infinite to be read. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I haven't gotten to him yet.
Yeah,
I know
the librarian is a wizard who got during a chaotic explosion of magic got transformed into an orangutan and wanted to stay that way because he could scratch himself in public. But he constantly goes into the deep recesses of the library and all the shelves and goes into L space, and you can go anywhere in all of creation and time.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Something like that, where you can interact with history but not change it, like dropping a pebble in a river instead of a boulder. Like,
yep.
There'd be ways to do it. That'd be really fun.
That would be really cool. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on here. Do the gods exist before the tear, or do they come into the world after the tear?
They exist before the tear, and they come into the world of Ansera after the tear. Interesting.
See, I'm actually interested in this. So, Pierre said it won't work. They're not available pre-tear. But that's only because of where they are.
Right.
But that's only because of where they are in the plain old situation. Right. I want to have fun. Wes needs to cure allergies. Yes, I do. Thanks, Eric. All right. So for people, now that people are totally interested in Mythcraft, because you've now got me actually interested in it, and like I don't have enough games to play and review. Thank you so much. Although I am in the market for a high fantasy game because I don't like the ones that I've played.
Right.
No, I should say I don't like running the ones that I've played. Because for me, when I was playing, I was running 5e. It felt like the only way to offer a challenge to my players was I had to actively try to kill them. And that just wasn't fun. Like, I just wanted to do something fun. I want something, I make Mythcraft fun. But so if people are interested in this, are there free resources that people can get to test out Mythcraft for themselves?
There sure are. srd.mythcraftrpg.com is our wiki. It has all of our character options and all of our monsters that we have published.
Oh, really?
Cool. And and all of our lore that we've published. So what it does not have is the campaign modules. There may be a couple of those that we've put up, but by default, those aren't up automatically. Um, but yeah, it's basically the content from the 3 like core book set, just in wiki format instead of in like, artistic illustrated format.
That's awesome.
Um, so yeah, there was the OGL that is trying to money grab,
Hmm.
and having been through college not terribly long ago, struggling to run a D&D campaign financially, I thought
Hmm.
there are other ways for our company to make money and stay afloat. It's, all me and the other owners, we're in alignment that like we want at least the wiki to be a free resource,
That's awesome.
so people can make characters, see monsters and whatnot.
Do
Yeah.
you have like a third party publishing license for it then that goes along with it, or?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
I do not remember the details right now. I don't have them pulled up in front of me, but it's like what the OGL was supposed to be.
Okay.
It's like what the ORC license is. We didn't end up going with ORC. I can't remember exactly why. But yes, yeah, you can publish third party. We want to be really encouraging of like grassroots people writing their own things right now.
That's really
Um,
cool. It's
Thank
neat,
you.
and I love that you guys have really have stuck with it and that you've had some success with it, which is really cool. So that's Mythcraft, which again I now have another game that I have to look at. Nathan, I will not, I will not forgive you for that as I try to figure out when I can buy it. Um, so let's talk about your backer kit campaign, which is what kind of sparked me
Yeah,
to bring you on to the channel. So I'm going to read the description from the backer kit campaign page, because it starts out with the phrase "The world is on fire. We've teamed up with a rockstar cast of pissed off writers and artists to create an anthology of killer digital only TTRPG content, fight wildfires, AR, authoritarian terrorists, and more." So, I mean, this is just a shot in the dark, but just like the theme of this backer kit have anything to do with current events?
what what's going on
I don't,
currently?
I have no idea. Apparently there's things going. No, I mean, like this, I mean, you're just kind of looking at it. Like, for folks who know, I think one of the actual adventures in it is called Kill GPT.
Yes.
So if you want to know where everybody stands on certain things, it's pretty much right there in the open. Um,
Yep.
this is actually really kind of cool. So what, like, other than the world literally being on fire, like, what kind of sparked you to like to gather folks together to kind of make these adventures? 'Cause that's what it is. It's basically a set of adventures for Mythcraft 5e, and I think a couple are system agnostic, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a right. It's an anthology style collection of short stories, of D&D modules, Mythcraft modules, and like one pager RPGs. They're
Okay.
they're not one page. We're a little bit more verbose than that, but it's the spirit of a one pager. And yeah, they're loosely organized into an overarching story, but you don't need the whole story to play like a chapter and have a rewarding like one shot or short adventure kind of experience with it.
Okay.
Um, I could say more. Remind me your original question because I want to be sure I get it.
Well, what kind of draw? Like, how did you get folks to come together to put this all together? You just went, well, you're angry about the situation. Here, you want to write something on it? Like, what was the pitch to bring people together
I
for
mean,
this?
kind of, yeah. It wasn't hard to find people.
You seem
um,
appropriately angry. Here, write something for us.
right. No, I mean everyone who is on the writing team or the art team has worked with us before in some capacity or has been like a really active member of our community
Okay.
in some capacity. So yeah, there's a couple people that are writing for us for the first time that have been like community members since our first Kickstarter back in 2023.
Gotcha.
Handful of people that have written or done illustrations for us for Veil of the Eternal Night, which was our vampires project that we did
Okay.
this past year. Um, and yeah, I mean, why now? Obviously, it's the impact that tariffs are having on the board game industry,
Hmm.
or the tabletop industry writ large. We're in the middle of fulfilling multiple Kickstarters from 2024 have a whole bunch of goods manufactured, and I mean, 3 guesses where they were manufactured.
I mean, are you stuck between a rock and a hard place right now? Like, can you afford to bring them over?
That's the question, right? And it's a daily, if not hourly. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of chatter. Thank you so much, Grimwood Games. Someone just back. That's awesome.
That's
Thank
my
you so
friend
much.
Dave, who was at the independent RPG thing at PAX Unplugged.
Nice.
So,
Okay. So train of thought.
things are stuck in China.
Yeah. Right. So books might be exempted. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that isn't exempted made it through in the nick of time, and so we dodged a bullet with that. So
Okay.
how deep underwater we are is like how much the geopolitical forces are going to grind down on us. We're not quite sure right now.
Okay.
What we do know is we want to keep producing awesome stories. We may take a break on like GM screens and dice and all of the other stuff.
Gotcha.
But digital adventures, PDFs for like print and play PDFs that are lightly illustrated or just have like black and white illustrations so people can do it at home super easily. They don't have like the fancy like paper texture. Like there are ways to get our stories into the hands of players that are rewarding to them, responsible for us, and let us, continue to collaborate with one another. So that's
awesome.
That's the like administrative way that this all came together. And then yeah, in terms of finding like the rockstar cast of pissed off writers, like it was our team and like a ring beyond our team of people that wanted to be involved that we've known for a while.
I just love the introduction. We're just pissed off, so we're going to make art, which is just like the total art thing to do, right?
Right.
But and you are, like so you had alluded to it, but you're releasing this. This is digital only.
Correct.
So this was interesting because it does take time to put together a backer kit. Like I have Dave's one of them. I have friends who've actually done it, and it takes time to put together. So did you have this like on the docket before the world on fire, or was this literally like, oh no, we're responding now?
We started planning this after Liberation Day.
You did this in like 2 weeks?
Yes. We started planning this after the beginning of April.
So you lined it. So, okay, I'm fascinated by this. So what type of art is going to be in this? Is it all going to be line art for easy printing? Do you have some folks who have done full color spreads for it, or like what's all going to be in it? And I am, I am blown away that you did this in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have some full color art. It's beautiful. The artists are incredible, and the full spreads they've done. Each PDF does have a full color like wraparound style. Like Tasha's called.
Yeah, like a cover for the front.
She's on the front, and like her wisps go around on the backside. Like we've got some beautiful spreads like that, which are not really going to be seen in their full potential for a digital setting, but I mean we've got them if we ever decide to do a printing of it.
Okay.
But like it's stunning art, and that what we're going to do is release 2 versions of each one. We're going to have the digital PDF that has all the beautiful art and like the textured paper and all of that.
Okay.
And then a bare bones version that is just the text, battle maps, maybe a black and white like copy of like a character if we feel it's useful or flavorful. But all of the like full spreads would just be on like the digital version.
Wow. Okay. That's really cool. I'm like, it's really really amazing. So you're doing it. You literally are going to have a PDF that is print ready, but it's with a full layout. Do you have like a built-in design language that you use for Mythcraft that you're throwing stuff into, or did you create something specifically for this?
Design language. I'm not quite sure what you mean.
So like, do you have like do you have like a style guide for the interior of your products?
Oh, I see. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. our first project, like the Mythcraft core set, we didn't have that.
Okay.
Um, Second project, I brought on a team of writers, and one of them said, "Hey, can I see your style guide?" And I was like, "My what now?" And so
We just thought
we
that
went
font
through
looked pretty. Okay, yeah.
and we built that out. And yeah, so I mean, we've got all of that in the works. We're also handing some creative control to the graphic design people as well, to
Okay.
say like, what font do you feel like communicates this story?
Okay.
If you look at the Raize, Raize, which is
Mm-hmm.
a system agnostic Jenga tower based uh, GMless
Yeah.
system that I wrote, um, it takes place over 4 eras, not intentionally modeled after the 4 in the Ansera timeline. It's just
Okay.
like it's more like civilization. It's like there's your Stone Age or Bronze
Mm-hmm.
Age,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's medieval, there's industrial, and there's modern.
Gotcha.
And each one has a different font that the graphic designer went through and picked out to represent like that
Oh,
era.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that a lot. Um, so you said it is an anthology. So what is being included? So we got two versions of the PDFs. I should have had water. Um, so two versions of PDF, print ready, layout, more of a bare bones type, which people who are into accessibility will love you for that. Um,
Yeah.
but how many adventures are going to be in it?
So let's see. We've got 12 episodes or chapters, which are organized into 4 acts. Or I'm
Okay.
sorry, 3 acts. Each act has 4 episodes.
Okay.
And so based on your like backing tier, it's $5 for an episode, $50 for the whole thing. Um, and excuse me, each each episode usually has like 2 pieces. So it'll have like a game and an accompanying short story, for example.
Okay.
Um, and those vary a little bit in like length and depth, but yeah, each episode usually has like 2 things. The ones that are only one like item per episode are just going to be a longer item,
Okay.
to kind of offset that.
That sounds really cool. And
Yes.
I want to talk about the way people can pledge a little bit and a little bit later.
Mhm.
Um, so exactly how many pissed off creators did you get just be on board with this project in the 2 weeks that you used to put it together? Which still blows my mind. Like that is not possible.
um, yeah, I don't know how we do what we do. It's an amazing team. I'm so like thankful and grateful for my partners. Grant and Andy are both fantastic, amazing people.
It's awesome.
Um, yeah, so there's the 3 of us. There's a team of 10-ish writers, and I want to say like 8-ish artists.
Okay.
The Quasireal team is a little bit bigger. The Start the Fire team is not everyone in the Quasireal team.
Okay.
Let me just count them up real quick. I've got
Okay.
all their names here. Yeah, so we've got 10 writers and 5 or 6 artists slash graphic designers. People making it look beautiful.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. That's a lot of cats that you're hurting right now. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And so we'd mentioned before, there's 3 systems that are being supported. It's Mythcraft, 5e, and then a couple that are genre or system agnostic.
Mhm.
How easy
Yes.
is it to take a Mythcraft adventure and rewrite it for another system? Does it use kind of like people expect, like hit points, armor class, that sort of thing, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, it uses a lot of similar terms. There's a lot of find and replace. Um, and the speed at which you gain health and um, any other typical feature that you would is different in Mythcraft and 5e.
Okay.
Mythcraft goes level 1 to 30, and that's
Ooh.
equivalent to 1 to 20 in D&D.
Okay.
So writing a level 7 adventure in Mythcraft is a level 5 adventure in D&D. So there's a fair amount of translation. It's not terribly difficult. It's just time consuming, and if you miss a detail, it can cascade and cause problems.
Okay. Do you have the same like kind of hit point
Yeah,
bloat arc, or are you kind of like a lower, a shallower curve for the way hit points go up?
well, yeah, hit points are based on one of your in 5e terms, it would be one of your ability scores instead of like your class.
Okay.
So as your endurance goes up, which is your constitution, as your endurance goes up, your hit die goes up. I'm using some translation terms here. It's
Okay.
not
Okay.
quite the same,
Okay.
but yeah. So once you max out your endurance, and if you dip into a couple of talents in Mythcraft that give you additional hit points, you can have. Um, I think the I think the number is in like the 300s. That depends entirely on the table.
Okay.
But having run so some comparisons, having run 5e combat and Mythcraft combat for like the same group of people,
Okay.
um Mythcraft is a little faster, not a lot faster.
Okay.
It can still get a little bit sluggy. What I will say in defense of Mythcraft on that point though is we were talking earlier about the merging of mechanics and narrative,
Okay.
and you see that a lot in combat. So it we getting into the weeds a little bit. Tell me to shut up if you need me to.
You
But
keep going.
Mythcraft has all right. Uh, Mythcraft uses an action point system instead of an action economy system.
Okay.
So action, bonus action, movement, reaction, free action. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just have a pool of action points that you
Okay.
spend to do whatever you want. Which makes it a lot easier to teach someone who is unfamiliar with tabletop games.
Oh, okay.
Um, that's always consistently the biggest learning hurdle when I'm trying to teach someone 5e when they're new to tabletop games.
Right.
Um, and it's just easier to learn it in Mythcraft. Oh, I've got 3 action points. I can use 1 to move. I can use 2 to stab with my weapon. I can use X, Y, or Z to cast those spells,
Okay.
depending on how involved the spell is. If you don't spend them all on your turn, then you save them and you can use them as like reactions. And if you don't use them as reactions, then a certain number of them roll over onto your next turn.
Okay.
Um, so that allows you to narratively respond to the situation at hand. The fighter or the soldier with the greatsword sees like an oncoming cavalry, and they're like, "Well, I can't do anything until they get closer, so I'm just gonna move forward, hold my sword, and wait." Then they have all of their action points for their next turn, and they're able to go to town on the cavalry right as it crashes
Okay.
into them.
They can pull. They can cash their action pools, which is nice. So I'm if I'm
Yep.
I am paying attention. I'm getting errors on my YouTube, so I'm making sure that the stream is still going. Um,
Oh, okay.
and it is
Nice.
still going. So because we're having a great conversation, but just in case I started recording, I agree. Action points are way easier. I am fascinated with action points. I I'm really interested in seeing how Mythcraft. I'm so fascinated. I want to see how this game works yet because I want a high fantasy game that I like. Dang it!
Mm.
You're messing with me. I don't like this. So that's going to be fun. And does your campaign? So it's a little bit different because stretch goals are usually adding in all the tchotchkes, right? So do you have stretch goals
Right.
for this campaign? And what are they going to be?
We Yeah, we do. I know some of them are just converting previously only D&D things to also include like a Mythcraft version.
Okay.
Um, I off the top of my head, I think a couple of them are just some extra short stories. There's a couple extra adventures that I wanted to write, or that one of the other writers on the team wanted to write that we decided just weren't they were better suited as stretch goals
Okay.
because I mean they're all cool ideas. Anything that's on a stretch goal is a cool idea that I'd like to see.
Gotcha.
But they were a little bit further away from like the core of the story we're trying to tell with the anthology. So better as like an add-on than as part of the essential like
Okay, cool.
bundle.
But the essential
Yep.
is part of this anthology. Is there like a loose thread that's going through the anthology then, or
Yeah.
are there?
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a loose thread. Yep.
a very loose thread, which
Um
I like. I like.
yeah, right.
This is
There's
just gonna be fun.
a demon named Samoriel, who has risen to power with a large cult following and takes over one nation, then a second nation, and then there's a domino effect, and most of the world falls to him. There's a slim alliance of nations resisting him, and there are rebels within the conquered nations engaged in guerrilla warfare. Samoriel is doing classic authoritarian things, right? So he's taken over the media, he's taken over state religious institutions, and so anywhere where he can exert soft power, he is doing so. So clergy and law clerks and
Did he
even
take away
like
the
city
tax exempt
watch.
status from a higher education institution? Not that
Well,
that has any
of,
real world.
of course,
Of course, I
right?
mean
It's just
that's just what you do, right?
right. So um yeah, so I mean, like well-intentioned people or people pure of heart in clergy, law clerks,
Hmm.
city watch people, professors are trying to push back against this system while being within the system,
Okay.
while rebels or freedom fighters are militaristically opposing. And so some of the adventures that we're writing are much more domestic almost. Like there's one that is a legal drama, but in D&D and Mythcraft. Um, yeah, so we're we're playing, we're experimenting with a lot of different approaches to storytelling.
That sounds awesome. That does sound really cool. So there are different pledge levels for this backer kit that's coming out. Can you explain how they are organized? Do you know how they're organized?
Uh,
Because I know that's not necessarily
I
your
do,
goal, but if you could tell me how they're
right.
organized, it'd be great.
Um, yeah, so there's a $5 one. You get to pick one episode out of the 12, and then you get like the two-ish pieces that are part of that episode. There's a $15 one where you get one act, which is a collection of 4 episodes. So do the math, that's about a $5 discount.
Hmm.
And that's going to be roughly 8 pieces, approximately 4 short stories and 4 like campaign modules,
Uh-huh.
give or take, right? Each act is a little bit different. The $50 one is going to be all of the all 3 acts plus the prologue, which is like chapter 0. Um, and if you do the math on like the $5 per episode, then that would put you at $60 or $65 if you include like the chapter 0, and so
Okay.
it's about a $15 discount.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so those are the 3 basic tiers. There's a like above and beyond just support us because you're awesome tier, and that's 100. It gives you a couple things you don't get at 50. I don't remember frankly what those are, but there are a couple extra perks in there. And I think there's one other. I think there's a couple other tiers, but those are the main ones.
Awesome. I love
5, 15, 50, 100.
I loved that breakdown of you can do one act, which is really cool. And because it's a
Yeah,
loose thread, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're lost. You can jump right in and
right.
go. Really cool. And for folks, if you are interested in that, the QR code is literally sitting there next to Nathan's lower third on the stream. So you can go right to start the fire. Yeah, it's that you're almost pointing directly at it, which is good. It's no, I'm the wrong way. It's over there.
I know.
Wait, it's so I can't do things backwards. I'm left-handed.
Right.
I'm backwards as
Screen
it is.
mirroring.
There we go.
I'm also
Um,
left-handed.
are you really? See, great minds.
Yeah.
We're in our
Yep.
right mind. Ha ha
Yes.
ha ha ha. It's the old joke. I actually, when we get done, I'll tell you a story of an article I read on why we have left-handed people. Because
Okay.
nobody knows. No, like it's one of these mysteries. Like, why do we have
Yeah.
this? It's just bizarre. And
Right.
when we get off stream, I'll talk about it. Because I need to go find the article because I misplaced the URL. I don't know where it is, but it was really good. So this is really cool. And how much more time do people have to back this?
I want to say, let's see, today is the 6th. I want to say 18 days, but I will actually just double check that real quick. I want to give people accurate information.
No problem.
17 days left. Yep.
Okay, so there's still time. Help them meet their
Yes.
and you are funded already. I think you've doubled
We
your
are
funding,
funded.
double
Yep.
your goal at this point.
Yeah, we're about 4,500 from our first stretch goal, which is a conversion from a D&D module to also support Mythcraft.
Yes, which I think we should be giving you a goal to at least do that. Get everything for Mythcraft, darn it.
Yeah.
That should be on. Start the fire, Pandelica.
That's right, Panda.
I do love Pandelica. I just think that's a cool name. Really, really cool. So I'm really excited. I'm glad that you were doing this. I just the premise of it was something that I thought was absolutely hysterical. In a I'm gonna laugh or cry or burn the universe down sort of way. So really, really cool. I love that you're doing this. As you kind of move forward with Mythcraft, is the intention to do more digital releases at this point, or is this just kind of like this is kind of our protest in the moment, and we're only thinking about this?
So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns right now. But what I do know is Andy and Grant and I, all three of us, we love like all the physical goodies that come with it. We're all plushie people as well. We have some Mythcraft plushies.
Gotcha.
Like monsters from the world, dice, game master screens, physical books, just because the tactile feel of it is beats a PDF any day. So we would love to continue doing that. How and when are both unknowns right now.
Okay.
Digital is something that we can do, and we can do indefinitely. Physical is something we want to get back to as soon as it's feasible, as soon as there is some way forward.
Okay. I know that there is at least one US based TTRPG company that's like literally creating a factory to print books. So that would be nice.
I heard about that.
So Troller just doing it, which is cool. And that'll be good until and PDFs are great until he decides to start tariffing digital products somehow.
I mean, good luck taking on nerds that are internet natives.
It's like we literally know where your data is. Have fun with that.
Right.
Right. But hey, who knows what's going on? Very, very, very cool. I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Wes. This has been
great conversation. You now have got me, and I've said this multiple times, you've got me interested in Mythcraft, and I can't believe I've done that to myself, which is going to be amazing. But everybody back this. It should be a really cool product. I'm going to go back it after I get done with the stream, because this is just...
Thank you.
I'm a pissed off creative too. So...
Right.
Really, really cool stuff, and I love the background for it, so it's really cool. I do have, like, Pandelica wants to hear why we have left-handed people as a lefty. So we have multiple lefties in the stream. So can I go off? I know I'm interviewing you, and I'm not supposed to take things over, but can I tell this story?
Please.
Because it blew my mind. Because there's a whole bunch of, left-handed people if people don't know this, tend to be angrier. And it's because we have the concept of microaggressions right now, which it's kind of emerged that people have become aware of, that these are things. Well, when you're a left-handed person, the entire structure of reality is a microaggression against you, because the entire freaking world is backwards. Literally, from where people hang stuff in a closet, it's backwards, and it freaks people out. So everybody understands what the evolutionary advantage is of having one dominant hand. It's because you can pass skills on from one generation to another. There's a biological and evolutionary benefit to that, which becomes very easy to do it. Whereas if you're a left-handed person, I don't know, because I'm from the ancient world. But when I was growing up, my teacher literally goes, I literally do not know how to tell you how to do this. Because I'm rating this to do things, right?
Learning guitar.
I can't even imagine trying to have learned. I learned how to play melody flute in 3rd grade, and that was a nightmare. All those backwards things. So they're trying to figure out, well, if that's the advantage, but left-handed genes have stayed relevant for so long. So this article that I have to find the URL for, but they went through and they started looking at all these great advances, just kind of moving back, and they were all left-handed people.
Huh.
And it's because like a left-handed person gets to something and they need to figure out how to do something that that works the way their brain actually works. And so they kind of like rewrite like the skill to be able to do it for
Huh.
themselves, and then it gets picked up, and it becomes part of the general thing. As the skills become more widespread, then it becomes right hand dominant again. It was like, that's a summary of it. It was like a 45-page article, and I was like reading it the whole way.
Wow.
But it was like, so left-handed people exist so that we can have evolutionary advances in society.
Huh.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you. That's awesome.
like, it's suddenly all the ink stains on my hand from when I was writing in college to take
They
notes,
mattered.
they
Right.
they all actually matter now, which is great. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. I have to find the article for that. I don't have the source, so it's really just accept this all as hearsay, because I literally do not have my source material. I lost it because my brain also has problems with object permanence. But that was great. So listen, folks, thank you so much for being on chat. Thank you, Nathan, for being here and talking about all of this. Nathan, I am going to say goodbye to folks without you on screen. You can still talk in my ear and
Okay.
try to bug me out, but please stay on the line for a little bit just so I can talk with
All
you
right.
afterwards and thank
Well,
you
thanks everyone.
properly.
Yeah, and thank you, Wes.
This has been amazing. So I'm going to go out. I'll talk to you in a little bit. So, folks, start the fire. Just sounds amazing. Go back it. I should have the QR code on this camera too. I'm going to put back on Nathan really quick. We'll see what he's doing. He's looking at the thing. There's the QR code. Go back that. Back to me. And I just had a blast talking about it. And Mythcraft has been on my radar for a while. I have gone away from higher fantasy games, but I like the tech tree concept of building a character. That actually, darn it, I have another game to play. So please go check out Mythcraft 2 and Quasireal Publishing House, which is one of the really coolest names that I've ever heard. Please go check all these things out. Support them. Support these independent creators, these smaller creators nowadays, especially to keep our hobby thriving, going, and growing. It's amazing. And folks like Nathan and Quasireal Publishing, they're just awesome people. So hang out with them and support their cool stuff that they make. Coming up on my channel, I have 3 books that I have read that I need to review. I got Monty Python's co-curricular medieval reenactment program is read. I've got Tales of Argosa, which is read. I have a Numenera book, which is being unnamed because I'm about to take my party into that world, and I don't want to give it away what they're doing, so that's coming up. Got to find time to write all of those, and I might push it back a little bit just because I'm going to get a chance to play it 2 of those 3. I'm going to run one and then play the other 2 by the time May 19th hits. So we'll see if I push it back or if I want to write out my review on that beforehand. And then after that, just look at my shelf, and I have Dreams and Machines down here, and I got books. I got a lot of books to read and review, and it's really good. I do not have any live streams that are scheduled up. I'm going to be on a couple of actual plays over the next month or so, which should be a lot of fun with Grimwood Games. Thank you, Dave. And really looking forward to just getting this all to you and having a lot of fun doing it. So until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.